I hope I'm wrong. I don't want there to be children being trafficked.
It's probably the first time where you see like leftists and conservatives coming together to demand accountability from the government. Now, I got a legal demand letter with my name on it a couple days ago saying that we were going to be sued for $1 billion by the First Lady if we didn't retract that and issue a formal apology.
The solidified structure that we're standing on is the Earth, and the Antarctic ice wall is around it.
So what's past the ice wall?
Other civilizations.
Oh, shit. Well, hey guys, what's up? This is Andrew Callaghan from Channel 5. I'm here at Jubilee, and today I'm surrounded by 20 conspiracy theorists. First thing I want to say to you guys is I'm not here to make anybody look or feel stupid at all. I'm not some kind of like expert debunker. I think that every conspiracy theory has some thread of truth to it, so I'm hoping we can find some middle ground and become friends. All right, my first claim is QAnon is a baseless conspiracy theory. There's no evidence of a global cabal of Satan-worshipping, child-trafficking elites that control everything.
I'm quicker than I look,
man.
huh?
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm a little quicker than I look.
Yeah.
So my issue is with the claim in and of itself, right? The fact that QAnon may be baseless then means that there is no child trafficking ring going on. That's akin to saying that the Easter Bunny is not real, therefore there was no conspiracy to hide Biden mental decline.
Before we proceed, there's definitely horrible child sex trafficking rings that exist in the U.S. Sure. I just think that pedophilia is a pervasive problem among all crests of society. I just think that the rich have an easier time covering it up because they can pay for lawyers and they have money to keep people quiet.
That in and of itself is a conspiracy that you just described.
Well, then I'm a
You
conspiracy
just described
theorist,
a conspiracy.
I guess. I just don't think it's limited specifically to an unnamed anonymous class of baby-eating elites.
Well, let's say the NGOs that are unnamed, right? We have humans being trafficked in migrant camps going all across Mexico. Somebody pays for that, whether it's NGOs, whether it's the UN.
Yeah.
We have pedophile rings that we know have been exposed throughout the Catholic Church. It's hard to get more elite than the Vatican. Right. Then you have people that are hiding, obviously, what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. So the idea that because we don't know who the tip of the spear is, or that the cobra hasn't shown its head, means that there's no cabal behind the scenes. Somebody is coordinating this. Now, let me put it this way. I wish that there was as much scrutiny being applied to the evidence that we have and that we've presented than there is to the conspiracy theorists that are presenting the evidence, right?
Definitely.
Like, a conspiracy theorist to me is a derogatory claim for people that don't trust establishment narrative, right? But the establishment has done everything they possibly can do to discredit themselves.
And I think that the establishment had a hand in creating QAnon. I think it's the sole biggest driving force in making all...
Careful, Andrew. That sounds like a conspiracy theory.
I'm just saying, it's like, if you think about this, right? Like, we know with the Epstein stuff, there were underage sex trafficking rings that existed, right? Now, think about this logical digression from that. And they're eating babies to get adrenochrome so they can be immortal. So think about how different those things are.
And that's disproving the existence of one by continuing to, it's what we call searching for the falsehood, right? So something can't be true because 3 steps down the line, something is untrue.
I think
that
the first
doesn't
thing
mean
is
the
true.
first thing is true.
Yeah.
We can agree that there are children being trafficked.
Yes.
We can agree that it seems to be some sort of systemic, industrialized component to this child trafficking, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then somebody has to pay for that. Somebody has to organize that. Somebody with means, somebody that could be, I don't know, classified as an elite. And that could be an elite child conspiracy, right? To traffic children.
Could be a cartel middleman with a bunch of money, man.
And listen, what I would say is this. What people that trust establishment, not that you're one of them, what I wish that they understood is that we agree with them in that I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
Like, the establishment wants me to be wrong, and I want me to be wrong. I don't want there to be children being trafficked. And I don't want our government, our taxpayer dollars, having anything to do with it. But I think that a conspiracy theorist used to be called an investigative journalist. We have questions. And I think that those questions deserve to be answered. And I think that that's the issue here. When people say, no, there's no list, stop asking questions, move on. well, then we feel like we should ask some more questions.
Yeah, and I feel like that's got to be less than 10% of the population who says there's no list, let's move on.
Yeah,
I think
be in
right
charge,
now
though.
is probably the first time where you see like leftists and conservatives coming together to demand accountability from the government.
No doubt about it.
And I think that QAnon was probably a psyop in of itself by Steve Bannon, Miles Kuo, a variety of strange actors that work with the Watkins family and 8chan to basically discredit people from actually putting the target where it should have been, which is right in front of our faces. The richest people in the world, most of them you can look their name up. Not saying there isn't people who are just random rich financiers that are anonymous, but you can look at companies like BlackRock, Vanguard. You can look up online. We all have iPhones, right?
Yeah.
Apple, these major social media platforms have CEOs. The Saudis, the richest people in the world are operating in plain sight. And so I feel like when you aim the target at this unnamed mysterious cabal of people eating babies in the hills, you're basically creating a thing that doesn't exist to convince people to look in the wrong direction.
But who is doing that, right? Like you said, we can look up the richest people in the world, but we're everyday people.
Yeah.
We have jobs, we have things that we're supposed to be focusing on that are outside in the realm of information finding. We don't have the time to go through all of the different NGOs that these people have created to hide themselves from this.
Right.
This is the job of journalists. This is the job of our media. Unfortunately, our media has been captured by these same elites that you're talking about, not to bring up another conspiracy theory here, right? But this is what used to be the fourth estate, right? We used to be able to trust journalists to get to the bottom of it so that we, the plumber, didn't have to spend our weekends digging through tax files to be like, oh my God, did George Soros really get $270 million from USAID?
Yeah.
That's not what we planned on doing, right? This was your job. But now the conspiracy theory is anybody that doesn't trust the establishment narrative. They have made us distrust our neighbor and trust the government. They have made us look at each other from a veil of the citizen doesn't have privacy, but the government deserves privacy. This is a matter of national security.
Right.
Well, if it's a matter of national security that we can't know who was selling children, then I think they've answered the question.
I think
Who's selling?
I think the Epstein thing is probably like the biggest potential breakthrough into dismantling some of those blackmail networks that have kept so much of the media and government compliant. But the thing is, whenever people stop trusting the mainstream narrative, which overall I think is a good thing, it makes way for an entire vacuum.
Give me real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Which is a good thing? Distrusting the mainstream narrative
when people stop trusting the mainstream narrative and do their own research, generally that's a good thing. However, that creates a vacuum where people who are even less reliable can fill the void with just different stuff.
But that's okay though, because information is cleansing. Sunlight is cleansing. But the best part about the conspiracy community, and I didn't start as a conspiracy theorist. I'm a guy that trusts the government. USA, baby. But as you pull at these threads, you start realizing the government has lied to us over and over and over again. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hey, good job, man.
Hey. How you doing?
Well, thank you.
Andrew, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm
Thanks
Courtenay.
for coming. Thanks, Courtenay.
I wanted to start with saying I think we agree partway.
Yeah, totally.
I actually think Q was totally a psyop. But I would say that the part about there not being an elite trafficking cabal who are Satan worshiping, I actually think there's a lot of evidence for that. So in any kind of a psyop, typically there's an element of truth. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Right, because otherwise it wouldn't work.
Right.
So have you heard of Project Monarch?
No, can you fill me in?
Sure. So Project Monarch was a subset of MK Ultra. You're familiar with MK Ultra?
So we're talking about 1960s counterintelligence programs.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. Which actually, so the whole term conspiracy theory, right, was kind of weaponized, right? By,
MK Ultra, COINTELPRO, all true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the term conspiracy theory, I also think like that was weaponized by the CIA.
Absolutely.
Document
Once you
1030.
slap that on somebody, everything they've said is discredited.
Yeah. Where do you think that began?
Probably around the 60s and 70s, similar to slapping the label communist on somebody during the McCarthy
With
Red Scare.
McCarthy, yeah. So there was a document, it was 1035-960. It was to counter the Warren Commission. They didn't want people investigating into JFK's assassination. So that's kind of where the CIA they slapped them with the label conspiracy theorist.
Of course.
So, okay, so Project Monarch was a subset of MK Ultra, and in MK Ultra, you're familiar with, there was I mean, we have just the declassified documents, so there's a lot more we don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know that there were horrific things done where they were using trauma-based mind control. So MK Monarch was the subset, and Monarch was where they believed that intergenerational trauma would lead to people who are much more susceptible to being programmed.
So you believe in epigenetics?
I do believe in epigenetics.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. So have you heard of Kathy O'Brien?
Mm-mm.
She is a victim of Project Monarch, and she talks about she and her daughter were trafficked. So she's one example. I've actually interviewed over 11, and I know that's a small population, but there are people who've interviewed way more than I have, who have been satanic ritually abused. And it was all by politicians, big Hollywood celebrities, and then of course we have like Epstein. So what would you say about people who have these stories and they all seem to have shared kind of themes, similar people involved with them?
I think that you can find anecdotal evidence of ritual abuse happening in all layers of society. I also think a lot of this stuff's like lifted from Hollywood. Like, for example, Eyes Wide Shut. Everyone has that sort of in the back of their head when they think about satanic ritual abuse. I'm sure that it happens, but I want to differentiate too, because when it comes to Satan worship, I know I probably, this might not be the most charitable group when it comes to Satanism, but there's LaVeyan Satanism, and then there's Church of Satan. And Church of Satan is very much like atheists who are doing it to make a point. And then I think the ritualized stuff connects to like pagans and sort of like old wealth worship and stuff. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I mean, I haven't looked into it too much because maybe I'm a victim of kind of writing people off when they start talking about satanic Hollywood Hills baby eating parties. I just always think they read it on someone's Facebook account.
You can take a narrative really far, which makes it, kind of discredits the whole thing, right? So just because they may say things that are kind of...
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey, how's it going, man?
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. What's your name?
Yasho.
Good to meet you. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you know stuff. Maybe it's the presentation. It could be the haircut. I feel like you're about to drop some serious statistics on me right now, and I hope I'm prepared.
Absolutely am. So, I'm going to ask you some questions just to make sure we agree on the facts. Yeah?
Okay.
You agree that Jeffrey Epstein was a child trafficker?
Yes.
You agree that there were elites who were at his island, on the airplane with him, at his parties, around the time where children were being trafficked?
Yes.
You also agree that the elites can't investigate the elites and find something wrong, because if we're asking the people who are on the island to investigate who is implicated in this, they're not going to give us a correct answer.
Not to mention, if you're a journalist and you try to report about it transparently, you can get harassed and bullied. But I interviewed Hunter Biden recently, right? And he suggested, because Jeffrey Epstein said this multiple times, that he introduced Melania to Donald Trump. Now, I got a legal demand letter with my name on it a couple days ago saying that we were going to be sued for $1 billion by the First Lady if we didn't retract that and issue a formal apology. So evidently, there are different lawyers that are going to pressure people into repressing the truth. I also think that the social media platforms are trying to get children addicted to like dopamine rush content, whether it be like semi-pornographic stuff. Like I was watching a music video the other day on my nephew's iPad because he's like 12, and I was like, damn, were videos always this like sickeningly perverted? Then I thought about Flo Rida and I realized, yes, and we were actually like we were like one of the first generations to experience that.
The elites trafficking children is not a baseless conspiracy theory. It's a reasonable suspicion.
Well, there are elites who traffic children. I just don't think it's everybody with money and everybody with successful
It's not
business.
everybody, but it's enough to shape culture and policy.
Yeah. I also think that many people who were on the island were kind of there, like, they were basically there as part of a honeypot operation.
Absolutely.
And they didn't go there knowingly trying to procure underage children. Not saying it's normal to be on Epstein Island, but I'm saying there was a lot of other things there, extravagant foods, performers, services. I heard Chris Rock was doing stand-up for people at like a 5-person dinner table. So you're thinking, I'm at the place right now. I'm seeing all these trusted icons of media. At the end of the night, you end up with someone you realize after the fact is underage. They've got the video. Now you do what they say.
So that would mean that we are ruled by elites who are child traffickers, right?
Yeah.
Or at least we're ruled by people who are blackmailing elites who are child traffickers.
Yeah, I think that at the highest levels of power, especially in this country, you have a tendency toward exploitation, and I guess it's a power trip thing for them.
So then we agree.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, bro.
It was nice speaking to you, man.
Good to speak to you too, man. Hell yeah. Andrew, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I just wanted to say the whole like Pizzagate thing, it stems from actually the abbreviation CP, right?
I know that Hillary Clinton was emailing people asking for cheese pizza and people thought it meant child porn.
Right. So, but like in the like pedophile community, like the term CP stands for child porn.
Yeah.
So like.
Oh, yeah. And for their community,
so
but for all of
cheese-
us, it just means cheese pizza.
Right, exactly. But so my thing with the Comet Ping Pong, there was a lot of pictures at Comic Ping Pong that were really weird, like putting children in super strange scenarios, like very strange art to have at a pizza wall. And I think that it got misinterpreted. It's not necessarily that there were like children in the establishment. I think they were trying to say this guy is a pedophile and he could potentially be involved in trafficking kids, not necessarily at that location.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is what is the connection between Satanism and pedophilia? Because I went to a Church of Satan gathering and they didn't really give off pedo vibes. It was more like heavy metal punk rockers who just like hate their parents' religion.
No, 100%. I think it stems from like innocence being impurified, and I think that's like what the devil, if you get into religion, that's the whole point of the devil, is to impurify the innocence, right? So like human beings weren't created to like live in controversy and chaos and pain all the time. Like we weren't intended to live that way, but the devil has like infiltrated our lives, and like because of sin, that now we're all in pain. So like I think that's kind of the root of it, is like when you worship the devil, you want to perpetuate his goal, which is to bring more people into what the devil wants for the world, which is the opposite of what God would want.
I guess it's confusing because there seems to be more of a connection between the Catholic Church and pedophilia than Satan.
I would agree that
pedophilia.
there's a lot of that. I think it's not every church is necessarily godly. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with like Church of Satan, Christian churches, some Catholic churches. Like I think it's just a part of being godly. Isn't saying like I believe in God. It's like doing the right thing all of the time. So like you could say I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and then if you touch kids, like you're not godly either way.
So for you, like Christianity means like acts of service, like living in kindness, helping your family. Yeah,
like just trying to benefit society, be a better person, be a good example for other people. And the other thing I would say too is like if there's not prevalent Satanism in the mainstream media, why does everyone start off super innocent and then like start dressing like Satan? Is that not a form of worship? It's
cool with the kids. I mean, if you go back to Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, it was a way of kind of protesting the strict religious households. Hey, that was great though. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story so you get a full picture of the news. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. They deliver the facts, unbiased, balanced, and designed to make sense of a complex world, getting you the clarity you deserve and news you can trust. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
All right, my next claim is that 9/11 was not an inside job. It was a coordinated terrorist attack by the group Al-Qaeda. Hey man, how's it going?
How you doing, bud?
Andrew, great to meet you.
Craig, but they call me Pasta.
Hell yeah, why do they call you Pasta?
You know, my Italian grandma used to make me take pasta to school and stuff.
No way, in a bag?
Yeah.
Shout out to your grandma, man. Rest in peace.
Okay, so starting off this discussion, I think we would both agree that fact that we won't know 100% whether it was an isolated issue by Al-Qaeda and the little ragtag team versus an actual government conspiracy right now, because we're not privy to all the information, all the texts, right? So we would agree on that. But we would probably also agree the fact that the United States government and the intelligence apparatus has always funded for a long time what you guys in the media call radical jihadist groups, right?
That's
From the Mujahideen to even down in Latin America to, you know, the opposition to the Sandinistas, the Contras and whatnot. We're always, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not far-fetched to think that there's some type of coordination between the intelligence or the government apparatus and the military between the actual hijackers and what actually took place, correct?
Here's my thing. I don't want to come off like an Osama bin Laden apologist. That's not something you want to be in your life. That's not necessarily, that's a worse label than conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
But to suggest that 9/11 was fully an inside job also implies that there would be no reason for some people out there to be upset about the things that the U.S. was doing. If you believe that Osama bin Laden's letter to the U.S. is real, it cites a few things specifically. It says keeping our military bases in the Arabian Peninsula after the Gulf War. Yes. It says our military support of Israel and a few other things. Now, those are all real things. Yes. And, our puppet states and dictators that we installed in the Middle East, that stuff is real. That's enough to create a vacuum where a bunch of really angry people decide to do something like 9/11. And before TSA, it wouldn't have been that hard. Yeah. You and me could do it.
Yeah, well, logically, what you're saying makes true, but both things can be true. Both a lot of people in the the Middle East, Osama bin Laden, his family, his cohorts can hate us, but also too, it could be an inside job because, like we said, we've already established that the Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, we've been funding them. So, and you weren't involved in media when 9/11 happened, right?
No, I was actually 3.5 years old. I was near where Flight 93 crashed in Western Pennsylvania. So we thought there was planes hitting everywhere.
Yeah. So you went back, kind of did your research, and you formed your opinion now too, as well. Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So the first part I would point out, and I'd say go back and look at. There's three main reasons why I believe it was definitely a government conspiracy. Number one is the actual connections between the hijackers themselves, and military intelligence, as well as the government, right? Mm-hmm. I think a week after, and we're talking about mainstream outlets now reporting on this, Newsweek, I think less than a week after, reported that 5 of the hijackers actually received training in secure U.S. bases. As we started looking at this other stuff and unfolding, we even saw that certain hijackers actually listed naval bases as their address on their driver's license and on their registrations for their cars. Yeah. So all these connections that we see, it's very easy to believe, from the jump, that we see all these connections. We see that they're being funded. They were also funded backdoor from military assets in the United States to Pakistan. By looking at that alone, wouldn't that be a little convincing to say, well, wow, there's all this funding, there's all this financing, there's something there?
But if you were to go back to the source of the funding, I don't want to botch pronunciation, but Mujahideen, is that how you say it?
Mujahideen.
So that was, Osama was a big factor in that whole group. That was a group that we funded to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Yes.
At some point, maybe a decade or two later, they began using all the guns that we gave them to perpetrate terrorist attacks at U.S. embassies and at U.S. bases in Africa and the Middle East.
We also know that they didn't stop funding these radical groups in Syria. We had the Pentagon, we had the CIA, all these different groups still funding them to this day. So in other words, there's no evidence that they ever stopped, right? So we understand that there's a relationship between them. The second point of evidence I would also bring up is the whistleblowers and the ex-military intelligence people who were also shut down, gagged, not allowed to speak. I mean, John O'Neill, I don't want to start throwing names out there, but that's one guy who comes to mind who actually died in the World Trade Center because his new job was head of security at the World Trade Center. Well, he was the head of counterintelligence for the FBI, and he quit because he stated every single time we get close to the funding and whatnot, our own organization shuts us down. The CIA, the FBI, they shut us down. So you have all these whistleblowers who say, no, the there is there. We knew Muhammad Atta, right? One of the hijackers was in the United States a year beforehand.
Well, he received flight training in Florida, right?
Yes.
Or I think it was also in Germany. I think there's a big difference between the U.S. government knowingly kind of laxing up security in the lead up to 9/11 because they felt like they needed the public to get on board with their military operations in the Middle East. And they also, they wanted to pass things like the Patriot Act to increase surveillance on citizens. There's a big difference between that and actually doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of like a little contradictory because you're saying all this stuff is definitely happening.
You see what I'm saying?
I want to talk about the third part.
We'll talk more about it after. Thank you, bro. Bill and Andrew, good to meet you. I didn't even see you behind me the whole time. Thank you. I like the hair.
Thanks. So, one of the things that I think is kind of missing in a lot of the 9/11 discussion is that, yes, the idea that it was a complete internal conspiracy, that the government completely planned, completely executed, all of that kind of stuff, doesn't really make a lot of sense when you look at the how many people can keep a secret type stuff. However, I think that whenever you look at the intelligence apparatus that was happening before 9/11 happened, both directly and after the terrorist attack done by Osama bin Laden in 1993.
In Tanzania?
No, in New York.
Oh, in the basement?
In the basement of the World Trade Center. After all of the Afghan war stuff, where we're basically paying Osama bin Laden to be our guy in that area, and then after he was completely abandoned by his handlers, and then America did all of the things that it does to piss everybody else off in the world.
Yeah.
And the government at that time was looking to put in a lot of surveillance stuff. We all know about the Patriot Act.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how quickly it passed. So to my mind, there doesn't need to be a grand conspiracy of 1,000 people, 150 people, or anything like that. There just needs to be about 50 that have a vested interest in allowing something to happen that will change the minds of the American people to allow them to be surveilled and to be completely and totally controlled.
Yeah. James, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think that 9/11 achieved almost all of the goals of the Bush dynasty, which is territorial control over the Middle Eastern resource pool, specifically oil, oil family. And then they needed something so extreme and spectacular and traumatizing collectively that the American people would be like, where are you going? Like, Iraq? Is Osama there?
Why
like,
are we gonna
no.
go there?
It's like,
Yeah.
well, can get them. Whoever's out there.
Exactly.
You know, and I remember that time period and wondering why we were invading Iraq. I still remember how they would obscure the messaging of why people had, negative feelings about us. Like, I remember asking my mom and dad, I was like, why did Osama attack the World Trade Center? And there was like, some people hate that we can go to the mall and the baseball game, and they hate Jesus.
That is exactly what I grew up in. So
Yeah.
I definitely know that. But
hey, James, appreciate you, homie.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What's up, bro? What up, man? How you doing, dog? Hey, thank you, bro. I like it.
Okay, my name's Luna.
Luna, before we go, does the tinfoil hat have any actual purpose, or is it more just like for swag purposes?
Swag.
Okay, yeah.
It's under my Dodger hat, just to let you know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
But it's a pleasure meeting you.
You too, man.
I had thought about your prompt, and I was like, that's pretty messed up if the government would do this as an inside job. There's a lot of people that their lives were lost and continue to be lost because of all the debris, the cancer, the trauma, and it's something I don't want to undermine either. This is very devastating.
Definitely.
The thing that James mentioned that was really good, you guys talked about the Patriot Act. I'm a product of the Patriot Act. I lived a life of crime, drugs, and lo and behold, I live in LA, so lo and behold, when the counties got full, the feds picked up the pace, and so they made these little private prisons, and how they were able to fill this is, I guess, this is how they used the Patriot Act. They started tapping wiretaps without
no warrant
at all.
Got you.
So I was like on my indictment, I was like number 23. I was on the low totem pole, but there was 31. Mine was for ghost dope that didn't exist, but it was just the conversation of the dope. But because I had a past, it stuck. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm not against it, I thank God that happened to me, because God used all that to utilize me to get clean, to change my life around, and I took advantage of it. Now, as an adult and a new father and a new husband, I'm a little concerned of the policing of the surveillance of the state, and I feel like I think brother said it really well though. It's like since the 9/11, it was kind of like if it happens, it happens.
Well, especially now with the Palantir stuff, like the surveillance state is just escalating, and the way they're aggregating our data and spying on us basically through our consumption habits and media, we're going to see a whole new level of surveillance.
And we're getting this information far later than when it actually has already been taking place or created, right?
Yeah, that's the craziest part about it. Anytime you hear about something in the news related to surveillance, it's like it's already happening. You don't hear about it when they're making the blueprint.
Exactly. So my just whole goal to you is just always go with an open mind and always dig. And I know it's very dangerous to dig in some certain areas because corporations are corporations and people are bought with whatever people are bought.
Yeah.
So,
hey,
I appreciate you.
Michelle, you too, man.
Yeah,
thanks for coming, dog.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's going on, man? How you doing? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
I'd like to start things that make you say, There was talk about the pilots. We were talking about guys that had very little experience, and it was documented that I believe the pilot for the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania was the plane that crashed that hit the second tower, supposedly, was one of the weakest pilots, affirmed by his flight instructor. My question is, to pull off the maneuver that suggested to hit that tower, there are accounts from actual airline pilots and very experienced pilots that said they couldn't make that maneuver. What do you say to that?
Well, what would the alternative be? That it would they had a professional, amazing pilot in there, and there was no hijackers?
it's not that that's an alternative, but it's like, let's compare it to sports. There are some people that are equipped because of their experience and repetition that they can do things that others can't.
Yeah.
Right? So especially you're talking about, it's a skill. Flying a plane is a skill. So to be accurate enough to hit that tower where it needed to be, to destroy it in a manner of which it was destroyed, there are pilots that are skilled enough to say that they probably could not have done that. So are we talking about a one-off, an anomaly with someone who is much less skilled than they are?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't look that hard to me. I'm not an expert pilot, nor am I an experienced hijacker. But I mean, it's not like he had to land the plane. You know what I mean?
Didn't have to land a plane. Seems to us that he had to hit an object, right?
Yeah.
But in order to get the result that he got, right? That's first thing that makes you go. Second thing, I remember that day.
Yeah.
I walked out right after the first plane, and I recall an explosion in the second tower. Subsequently, in recent years, like you said, there's footage and firsthand account of witnesses that say that they heard an explosion, a demolition-style explosion. You've heard this from firefighters that were in buildings or surrounding those buildings. You heard this from witnesses that were right near the buildings, and you heard this from people that were actually in the towers. How do you explain it?
I mean, I'm not an expert on building mechanics, but from what it looks like, you had an uncontrolled fire that was raging on the middle floors of multiple buildings for hours.
Okay.
And I could imagine that there was also jet fuel that was causing combustion to occur. I mean, it's a building. There's a bunch of stuff in there. There's gas, water heaters, all types of reasons why something might explode.
Neither one of us are architects, right? The industry I work in, I've seen these beams that are used to build high rises. So you're telling me that just from an explosion, from jet fuel and this combination, which has also been, I would say, debunked by others that are experts in not only chemicals and science, which I'm not, I'm taking from them, which they're saying is that this is virtually impossible for buildings to collapse in that way. So there are reference points, and I've seen these just randomly demolitions of old buildings, Vegas, things like that. Why did it look so similar, and how are we saying that this perfect storm of chemicals and explosions and jet fuel could do that to a building where we've never seen an example of that before?
For sure, but there's never been a building that big that's ever collapsed in that manner before as well.
But we have seen buildings. I mean, I can't recall the count, but it was overseas. I believe in maybe Turkey, where there was a plane that hit a building intentionally, suicide bomber, and the building didn't collapse. Smaller caliber plane, granted. However, the design, not much off. Does height? I mean, we're not physicists, but does height, did all that thing, did that play into what we saw with our own two eyes?
Well, one question I have is, what does melt steel beams?
Intense heat. But at what? I mean, again, science. I don't know how thick the beams are. We can go into all of that, but we're just talking about what we know, what we've seen.
Okay, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
My God.
All right, my next claim is that Hunter Biden's laptop reveals personal issues but provides no evidence linking Joe Biden to criminal conduct or corruption. Let's get into it. What up, man? What up, Andrew? Good to meet you, man.
Channel 5.
Thanks for coming, bro. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes, sir. Howard.
Good to meet you, Howard.
Man, so your first part right there, you said about with the personal laptop.
Yeah.
When already isn't that the same one that he was sitting there smoking crack on?
Yeah,
too,
but
right?
smoking crack is not a major conduct error.
But it's not about smoking crack, but the laws that he was passing about some people doing that crack was more harsh than what was going on with his son, right?
I mean, the disparity between the 1994 crime bill being passed by Biden and others and then his son being able to smoke all that crack while simultaneously having the presidential budget to protect him is definitely a disparity. However, part of what Hunter Biden told me is that his, I think it was the senior thesis that he wrote at Georgetown about the disparity in the crack sentencing in 94 is what caused Joe Biden to kind of repeal that and roll that back later in the 90s.
I mean, but you said about rolling it back, but it's more enhancement that they would do with that law, right? Because he was doing the same thing but making it.
Yeah.
But you have the same person that was doing that and they are getting, 30 to life almost?
Yeah, I don't
but
think
he gets rehab? That will be against a lot of laws right there. I mean,
I mean, just to clarify, I don't think anybody should be in jail for drugs in general, unless you're manufacturing the ridiculous amount of fentanyl that kills a bunch of people. But if you're cooking crack in the 80s and you're still in jail, free you. Free everybody who's locked up in jail.
I think you need to clarify about the cooking crack part, though.
Okay, cooking crack or doing crack, just get out of jail. It's fine. But I think Hunter Biden in particular, yeah, I mean, the fact that he was able to smoke crack and not get in that much trouble for it would reflect some systemic
I mean, but wouldn't that
inequalities.
still be some systematic, like, law approach with that? I mean,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what do you expect Joe Biden to do? To be like, all right, I got to stick to my word. Hunter, 3 strikes, you're going to prison, no parole.
it's showing favoritism with that. So that's why I'm like, so if that could bypass a law with him, what else are they overshadowing with Biden?
It's actually a pretty good point. I agree. Okay, hey, bro, thank you. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. My first question for you is, do you know when Joe Biden pardoned Hunter?
It was what, something like 15 minutes before his term ended?
Well, like the timeline that he did for that.
Well, I know that whenever Hunter became on the board of a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma, or it was Burisma, Joe Biden was involved in his pardon. But I just want to say that the conviction that resulted in the pardon was not anything related to like corruption. It was specifically just tax evasion, which happened during a crazy crack bender when he still somehow was on the board. And then also it was a charge related to being a drug user in possession of a firearm, which apparently in Delaware, if you have a historic drug past, you can't have a gun. So those were the 2 things that Joe Biden pardoned his son for, because he knew that with the upcoming administration, with Trump's justice system, he'd be likely to make an example out of Hunter.
What was he doing in 2014 before that? And so you had already mentioned the Ukrainian electric company that he was on the board of and that he was communicated with. And so it's also known that like our government was used to fund the war in Ukraine to overthrow that coup that was happening there. And so my point with that is that there is a lot of shady stuff that was happening that shows his involvement with all of that stuff and the war that was happening in Ukraine. I think that it does go a lot deeper and that there could be a lot more things involved in that. You had mentioned his ties earlier with Epstein and all of those other things.
No, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden had no ties with Epstein.
You mentioned earlier that Epstein and Hunter Biden told that
Hunter Biden told me that he repeated Michael Wolff's claim that Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump at a tennis club in 2000.
But my point with that is saying that there could be a lot more evidence for blackmail on Hunter Biden's laptop. And so there should be more of an investigation done with that. Instead, it was silence and nobody ever really talks about it anymore. It wasn't silence.
Congress and the Justice Department reviewed the laptop for 2.5 years, and they figured out exactly what they could. They did whatever they possibly could to try to charge him and convict him for something. They ultimately only convicted him, like I said, on tax evasion and being a drug user in possession of a firearm. If there was anything else on there, they would have hemmed him.
Well, there was other stuff.
Hey, great job. Thanks. All right. What's going on, man? Hey, Andrew.
I'm Space.
Great to meet you, Space.
Yeah. So, I like how you're open-minded and willing to learn.
Thanks, man. You too.
So here's the thing. Why was his computer even taken?
Well, the story is that he gave it to a laptop repairman in Delaware. That guy, I don't know what his name is, but he gave it to Giuliani and Giuliani's lawyers. They sent it to the New York Post. A journalist named Miranda Devine published all of it, and that kind of became a outrage ecosystem in its own.
How long did it take for them to actually retrieve that to send it to the feds?
Probably like are you talking about the time gap? Well, technically, if you believe the Justice Department, there never actually was a laptop that contained all that stuff. There was an iCloud data leak, and there was a laptop too, but most of the stuff that was out there, like the pictures of the crack and the prostitutes and stuff, that came from an iCloud hack, which Hunter Biden claims is a Russian operation.
Okay, so with them breaching his information, if they would breach his information, would make you think they won't hide any more information?
Well, because the people that wanted to see Hunter Biden go down, which is Giuliani, Trump, and that whole camp, they had access to all the information. So I really feel like what they were doing is they're making a big deal out of something that wasn't that big of a deal, but kind of gatekeeping stuff and saying, okay, right now you got a picture of him smoking crack, but we actually have worse stuff. We're kind of waiting to show you that until the right time. Giuliani falsely claimed that there was child pornography on the laptop. So they were basically holding his laptop hostage, saying like, yo, I can't tell you what's on there, but what's on there will change the game. And then when it came down to it, it wasn't too much.
Well, I mean, how do you feel like they interrupted the presidential candidate between it? Like, how did they hide that process?
What are you talking about?
I mean, when supposedly Joe Biden, we're talking about the connection between Joe Biden and HUD, and how did the connection with Joe Biden had anything to do with the laptop? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely information on the laptop that showed that a lot of the opportunities that Hunter was afforded came as a direct result of his dad co-signing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it goes back to what your stance is on nepotism. Like, for example, should Jaden Smith have a record deal?
Yeah, he should.
So with that, but not Hunter?
I mean, the difference is, like, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
We took...
All right, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Hey, yeah.
This counts as cardio for me, man. Listen, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Smoking crack, hanging out with Ukrainian hookers, loaded guns.
Awesome.
Yeah, basically, I should be best friends with this guy.
Yeah.
It's not. It makes him cooler to me. What I am concerned about is the Hatch Act, which is a serious crime.
Yeah.
And that's where you use your influence and nepotism to gain personal gain for yourself and your family, which I think that very clearly claims, especially with his dealings with China, Burisma, as you said, withholding $1 billion to Ukraine unless they fire the prosecutor that's looking into the claims. If not criminal, corruption.
But what about, the jet that the Kuwaitis or the Saudis just gave to Trump? And what about the fact that Trump Jr. just opened up this club in Washington, D.C. called the Executive Lounge, where if you pay $250,000, you're promised 1 to 2 hours of FaceTime with the presidential cabinet per month. If that's not selling influence, I don't know what is. I feel like it's a regular thing, and I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying I don't think that Hunter Biden did anything that was like far beyond any other presidential child did when it came to getting jobs because of their family.
But so when Trump does it, it's bad. Hunter Biden does it, it's not big deal.
I'm just saying, like, what's worse? You know what I mean?
What's worse? Anybody that's doing this should be, whether it's Trump, whether it's whoever, they should be held accountable for it. We can't be in a kleptocracy where you get into the club and you get to do whatever you want to do, right? Yeah. So, and I get it. Like smoking crack, whatever. People have problems in their family. Leaving a loaded gun in a school zone, not ideal, Hunter.
Whereas school zones everywhere.
There's too many schools. I agree with you. But bigger issues are with the Hatch Act. And beyond that, man, this concept of Hunter Biden somehow becoming a victim after all these years of nepotism bothers me, especially when you do whataboutism and say, well, what about Trump? What about this? What about that? I talked with Rudy Giuliani, and it's an interesting thing. And this is almost like how conspiracies are birthed, okay? There's no laptop, which you said it's actually an iCloud, which is technically true. However, when the FBI raided Rudy Giuliani's house, right, or apartment in Central Park West, he goes, hey, don't forget, anything you take has to be entered into evidence. I have this laptop, you guys have to take it. They stopped the raid. They would not take the laptop that doesn't exist into evidence. So now it creates plausible deniability that, there was no laptop. So as the gentleman earlier said, if we are to trust the establishment to police the establishment, we can't be surprised when the establishment always comes up saying the establishment did nothing wrong, right? So, I mean, we're in a situation here where I don't care whether it's left or right. If people are committing these crimes, if they're using their influence and they're hurting everyday U.S. citizens in the process, they should be held accountable for that. You would agree, yeah?
Yeah. So do you think a collapse of the two-party system and the birth of like a new type of political alignment is necessary?
I think it's happening organically. I think you're seeing people shift to voting demographics they would have never shifted 2 years ago. I think everyday people realize that the system that we have it right now is unsustainable. And part of that is the media running coverage and gaslighting us everyday citizens going, well, there was nothing. There's no corruption going on here. Well, clearly there is. You're gaslighting us. But just because it's your guy, I'm supposed to forget about it. And what about Jared Kushner and his $2 billion? Yeah, let's get him too.
Yeah.
Let's get the Bushes while we're at it.
So let's go after all. You think we need to like clean house of the 1% and just start from the bottom?
That would be the great reset I can get on board with. I don't want to eat guns. I don't want to eat bugs, and I don't want to never own anything and be unhappy. But I do want truth. Just give me truth. Give me the whole truth, and then trust us that we can figure it out from there.
Is there a politician that you look at right now that's on the landscape that you look at as like a perfect arbiter of truth?
Well, yeah, but as soon as they become a politician, it becomes hard, right?
But who is it, though? If you had to put somebody in there.
I'd probably say Thomas Massie is the one guy actually doing his job. Doesn't take AIPAC money. He goes against his own party more than anybody else. And for somebody that somebody that did nothing wrong, Hunter Biden did nothing wrong, slap on the wrist, boys will be boys, smoke a little crack. What does he need a preemptive pardon for? a preemptive
Well,
pardon.
I think that the concern for Joe Biden, at least, I don't want to speculate too much, is that if Trump were to get into power and take control of the justice system and appoint different judges, that he would make an example out of Hunter and lock him up and throw away the key forever.
Yeah, some federal judge might hit him with 37 felony accounts out of nowhere for a for a loan that he already paid back.
No, but they might send him to El Salvador and you have to join MS-13 or something.
I
Or
don't
18th Street.
think MS-13 exists anymore in El Salvador.
I mean, they've got to. You can't get all of them.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think the biggest issue that we have right here is not running coverage for the elites when they do bad. I think to whom much is given, much is expected, and it's their burden of proof. The citizen, we are innocent until proven guilty. The powerful are guilty until they prove that we can trust them.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we're out of time. My next claim is the Earth is not flat. It is probably a sphere.
So, Del, my guy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to meet you.
Shamvoy, pleasure
Good to meet you. I appreciate it, man.
That's right, that's right. All right, so I'm gonna do this in 3 different parts, right? 3 different parts, easily, real quick. If we were moving barreling through space in the widely accepted version that NASA gives us at 64,000 miles per hour, right? While spinning on our axis at over 1,000 miles per hour, the constellations would change every hour. The stars would not be able to remain the same. Polaris, one star in the middle that all the other stars circle. The further you get away from Polaris, the faster the stars are moving. The closer you get inside of it, the slower they're moving. This star has not moved for eons, centuries, hundreds of thousands of years, which would be impossible if we were barreling through space.
Well, the question is, Antarctica is kind of the biggest thing when I talk to flat earthers. So Antarctica, right? If you were to enter Antarctica from beneath Argentina, right, Tierra del Fuego, and get onto Antarctica, if you went through the whole thing, would you pop out on the other side of the sphere, on the other side of the southern hemisphere?
So when we talk about the Antarctic wall, right, it's not a sphere or a flat surface. It's a bandwidth. It's almost like a snow globe. You understand? So where the firmament is making the actual the solidified structure of clothes. The solidified structure that we're standing on is the Earth, and the Antarctic ice wall is around it. Encapsulating everything that we're in right now. So leaving outside of that, of course, you would get to more places, more pieces of the Earth. You know, that we've been regulated away from.
Yeah. So the ice wall is not infinite, or it is infinite?
No.
So what's past the ice wall?
Or other civilizations.
Oh shit!
Yes,
so
sir.
on the same plane, there are other parallel societies.
Absolutely. Have you heard of Agatha?
No.
Agatha is believed to be the Hollow Earth. And there are different Hopi prophecies. There are different different Native American prophecies in which they describe an ant people, an entire civilization. This will talk about the Atlanteans, even however you would like to call it.
Yeah.
But on these old maps, once you pass the ice wall, there are other continents just outside with different types of ligers, different types of genetic splice, different type of aliens that you would call it.
Yeah.
So whether or not you would say they're extraterrestrial, interterrestrial, whatever it will be, that's connected into the Anunnaki thing. But
yeah,
it's almost impossible that the science that NASA gives us to deceive gives us. You feel me?
I mean, just on a base level, I hope that what you're saying is true. On like a science fiction adventure level, I want to go there and talk to the ant people.
The world's way more interesting, right?
But the big question is, what is the benefit that NASA would have in convincing us that the Earth is round as opposed to flat? Like, what's the benefit for them?
Strongest indications of the slave mind is to get you to deny what you see with your own eyes. To get you to be able to see how close the sun is, how close the moon is, to be able to see the waters above and the waters below, to be able to connect these things in nature to yourself and deny it because somebody tells you that's not true.
So, well, thanks for the time, bro. I appreciate it. Hell yeah, thank you, man.
How you doing?
What's going on, man? Thanks for coming. Andrew,
Nice
good to meet you. Thanks.
My pleasure. My first question for you is, do you know what NASA means in Hebrew?
Oh, shit. Are you a Hebrew Israelite?
Somewhat. I think it's in my blood.
Okay, cool. Respect.
Yeah.
What does NASA mean?
To deceive.
In what language?
In Hebrew.
Is that true? Do we have a Hebrew
100%.
scholar around
Yeah,
us?
100%. You can look it up on your own time, for sure. When you talked about the stars' lights not reaching the Earth because of the time delay of, what is it, space travel or things like that, I think the true answer to the question is the stars are placed into the firmament. Genesis 1 verse 4, the stars are placed into the firmament on like the 4th day of creation. So these are not vast, distant bodies moving through outer space, going, losing all of their energy, and then that light getting to Earth 100,000 years later. The reason they are stationary, like my gentleman mentioned, is because they're placed in the firmament. They're not going to move. They're going to forever be just in the place where God placed them.
So what is the sky?
The sky is a hard, tangible expanse. It's the reason it's called the firmament. It's a dome. We live in a snow globe. Right.
On a deeper level, though, like how would NASA benefit from, you know?
Oh, I love the question. I forgot that.
Yeah.
You're hiding God's handiwork. God is the creator. As soon as I change what he created, I bring into question his existence. Or you understand what I mean?
Right.
So also NASA, when you take a T, the letter T, and you place it inside of NASA, you now get, and you play a little bit of scramble, you're going to get the word Satan. So what we're getting at now is a diabolical game of Satan versus God, and Satan's move to debunk or displace the existence of God in real time, in real life, in people's minds. Once you do that, when you pass away, you are now in jeopardy of going to a place called hell that Jesus preached about a lot. Right. So it's very important to discredit or debunk the existence of God.
There's a pretty major religious undertone to all this stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But we can see that even coming away from flat earth, when people go into comas and things like that, we are spiritual beings in a temporary vessel.
Yeah.
So the metaphysical is 100% more prominent in our lifetime than the physical.
Have any flat earthers like gone together to Antarctica to like try to see if they could get
No,
past
you
the
got
ice wall?
that peace treaty. You got that the Antarctic treaty that came. So Operation.
Okay. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Hi. Great to be here.
Great to see you here.
My name is Day. My profession, I'm a shaman. I'm a Heyoka empath.
Awesome.
I am a singer, songwriter, producer, and I incorporate my music in with what I do.
It's amazing.
And so when you were talking about Antarctica and why people haven't been able to go there and all the restrictions. So do you know about like astral traveling and or things about the government was doing studies of trying to remote view?
No, but it sounds great. Can you tell me more about it?
Yes. So what you can do is you can get to certain levels of your consciousness through different stages of awakening. These happen, like we were talking about, like Native Americans.
Yeah.
This is normalized because people that would come out and have special, what is seen today as mental health issues, like dissociative identity disorder or different parts, we were acclimated to a part of shamanism, and our gifts were used to help the collective society. But because we are in the 21st century here, it is not as seen or recognized. So when we're talking about flat earth, first we have to think about the things that they conceptually tell us about in school. Think about when you were in kindergarten. What was it first? What was your first experience? What was it? Colors?
As far as introductory teaching, when they started teaching us about history, the globe was one of the first things they pointed to.
Exactly, and the circles and the shapes, and they start teaching us how to conform naturally with what is going on. But in kindergarten, we have rainbows. We are on that divine frequency. We actually know a lot more of what's going on when we're children than we do as the older we get. It's actually removing us from programming that we're actually sent with when we get down here. So throughout school, they start giving us things to start shaping us into thinking how they want us, which we become in the workforce.
I think that's totally true, especially if you look at like elementary schools. And I always thought that like school was kind of a government psyop to get people to be like non-creative, cheap humans. But also it makes it so you can make friends. Like if you get homeschooled, you can kind of become like a little awkward and have a hard time being around other kids when you're like 10.
But what's wrong with being awkward?
I mean, that's a great question.
That
if
is
you're
a social
awkward watching
conformity.
This, I love you. I don't want you to feel weird.
Exactly.
However, people are kind of mean-spirited, so it's good to get thick skin, right?
Yes, that thick skin. And because of that thick skin being able to be developed, it is not that I am here trying to change your mind into thinking the same way that I do. It is the natural process of how I came up over this information because they have so many things that they're already introducing us to. Black holes, circles, the things that are already around us, the things we have, but nobody put it together. They say double rainbow. What does that mean? The double rainbow actually means there's two parts of Kundalini awakening. We have the chakra system that is within us. That is actually the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. So if you do Roy G. Biv starting from the first part of your sacral chakra, starting all the way up, you get to your third eye, which is the awakening. And so these are techniques that the CIA started honing in the 70s and the 80s. disease way before they started introducing it into the general population. So what they were doing is they were using this remote technology and this way of enhancing your brain, teaching people going through these natural processes through just meditation, but they were using, then it gets into the psychedelic realm of things, but you can do this naturally because it's all a divine code. It's just God. But because when they don't want to be teaching us all of this, they separate it to the upper echelon of people and they give us, little bits and pieces, but then eventually wean us off.
So you think the elites of society have access to this healing method?
Yes, they do. Do you know about binaural beats?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so using hemisync and binaural beats frequencies, you can actually sync up the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of your brain so they're operating on the same wavelength, which actually increases the level of capacity that you can think, because most people are not operating on the full capacity of their brain.
Has that been able to like heal you in certain ways and help you deal with emotional trauma?
Yes, I used to deal with depression, anxiety. I do have DID, so my system is able to operate together as a cohesive set. So we're able to, come together when I'm meditating, and I can imagine we're at a round table and the different fragments of me are able to do my daily functions of what I need to, in life. And so because I started going on this journey, because all the big pharma was trying to do was shove pills down my throat and make me feel like a zombie, but there are other people out here that suffer from different fragments. And I realized this comes into what they've been talking about too, past lives, reincarnation.
Totally. Hey, well, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad it worked for you, and I appreciate you coming to talk to me. What's going on, player? How you doing?
How's it going?
Andrew, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like the swag, Danny. It's awesome.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So as far as flat Earth, I just wanted to kind of give some facts that I had found. Where do you think that the spherical Earth story came from?
I know we used to have a non-spherical model, and there was a particular scientist who changed that understanding.
Okay.
What was his name again?
Okay, so actually around 2000 BC, before Christ existed, almost every ancient civilization believed in a flat Earth system. It was a 3-tier model. So it had the Earth and heavens above and hell underneath. Now what they were speaking about with the firmament is it's spoken as it's actually heaven, but it's also spoken as a very tangible object.
Right.
So when you hit the heavens, you can break through. What we might think that is like a sound barrier, breaking through the sound barrier.
Yeah.
So what they, when you're looking at it, 2,000 years BCE, they ended up losing a lot of that information. It wasn't until around the 3rd to 6th century when Christianity started taking over forcibly many communities and areas and sending their priests down who were the most educated.
Right.
And so we were following their education system.
Whoa, so you think that the circular Earth model is a product of colonization?
Well, between the 3rd and the 6th century, after Christ existed, that's when they started forcibly changing the models over. Anyone who started to believe in the spherical globe, they actually were said to be taking those people out. So
you don't think this may be because Western Europe was like a kind of a little bit ahead scientifically from other parts of the world?
Well, I think that that's a good thought process. However, every single person, when you look at Origin or Cosmos, those are some of the philosophers from that 3rd to 6th century. Some of those people believed in the round Earth, some of them did not. Interestingly enough, Origin, he had the money backed up from Europe, and he had allies that were very powerful. They actually used his story to start the actual spherical Earth. Every single person between the 3rd and 6th century who did state that the Earth was round and that they started using those as models, they actually were all related to Christianity. So every single one of them was high up in the church before they adopted their scientific studies. At that point, they had discredited thousands of years of written down studies that had very clearly explained how the 3-tier model system works.
So I'm thinking, like, I saw a Red Bull video one time, right, where they have that guy, I think his name was Felix or something. They take him on a satellite very high above where planes fly, and he jumps out of there and he parachutes down and he lands somewhere in the desert. But in that video on YouTube that I've seen before, you can see the curvature of the Earth begin to form. I also see satellites in the sky, and I know that it's currently dark in Taiwan and the sun's out here in LA. All those things to me seem like, to a certain degree, irrefutable proof that there is some kind of curvature here on this planet.
The sun moving, though, specifically, let's say hypothetically it wasn't a sphere, let's say it was a flat circle. If the sun was underneath and the moon was above, the shadow would still create that same curvature. And
so the sun is a roving luminary on a two-dimensional plane. When there's 3 layers in the firmament and God created it, and you feel like the actual globe model was created by atheists who were trying to smite the word of God and make it seem as if we're just people on a rock floating through cold space.
I believe that there was people who were looking for very in-depth scientific analysis prior, and we still follow a lot of those people as far as their ideologies, and we study them in school.
We're out of time. Thank you, bro.
No, I appreciate
it.
it.
Hell yeah. You know I gotta go with my guy. You know I gotta go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man, I had to bring you back, and I'm curious what your claim is, man.
My claim is that there is most certainly not only a global cabal that has our world currently enslaved, right, seeking us on a path of destruction to siphon out the energy of our soul, putting us on a satanic type of path.
Yeah.
But that global cabal is actually ran by interdimensional, spiritual, whatever you would call it, less lizard people, reptilians.
For sure.
Very
Is this
specifically.
the Anunnaki conspiracy where they live in the moon, or do they live in an actual different dimension outside of our planet plane firmament?
You don't have to leave the firmament to travel interdimensionally. You can hop into your Merkaba light body, your vessel, into your brain like Queen was putting out type, right? And you can leave to other planets here, like she was saying, there's astral projection.
Yeah.
You could, they say right now, people who do remote viewing, that when they go to the moon, that there's an intergalactic planetary meeting going on in there type. The moon's hollow. You feel me? That
I do feel you. Do they walk among us?
Yes, that's where we get into the shape-shifting reptilian phase, right? Where they talk about the Queen, you feel me? The UK, the British, the monarchy, the serpentine bloodline.
Yeah.
That actually comes back, and they believe that we are the bloodline of Melchizedek. We are the bloodline of Lucifer, the Nephilim that you would call it, to where they do have the divine right to rule over us.
I'm trying to find some common ground here, so I want to back up a little bit. You said all of humanity is enslaved. Now, I do think that humanity is in fact enslaved to a couple different things. Dopamine, sugar, drugs. I don't know, man. I'm curious, when you say enslaved, that means I'm enslaved by lizards. What are they making me do?
So the child sacrifice.
I don't do that.
And right? And the reasoning for why child sacrifice would even be a thing, right? When you're dealing with pure magic, everything is energy. Everything is masculine and feminine on Polaris. You feel me? And the sacrifice to these balls, to these moleks, from in the Talmud, you feel me, to the Bible, to the Quran, there's always these deities that Yahweh, that Enlil, like, admits to existing, admits that there's a pantheon of gods above and below the humans that are created. Whether we're the first, 8th, or 9th version of humans to exist, we exist in this world with higher domains and entities above us.
You don't believe in one true God. You believe in a pantheon of gods, sort of a polytheistic deity base where every god throughout history is valid under the same system.
No. Just like I believe I'm God. I believe you're God. Right now, check it out. Just like I believe you're Stardust, bro. You are Stardust. Every single one of your atoms is filled with dynamic potential of God.
Thank you.
To be able to choose whatever it wants to be in that result. So when it's the micro is equal to the macro, as above, so below. These are hermetic principles, you feel me, that are based upon reality. Like what would they say? Unscripted laws. And in that, the divinities, the deities, that the Almighty, that the one above has created, has allowed itself to form into, to create the experience that we're in here, they're given different levels of principalities, different levels of power. But they say in the Bible, for example, that we are the greatest. Us, this emanation, this version of God is the greatest, stronger than the angels, stronger than the devils, the demons, the entities, all of that. The wind don't get to choose whether or not it gets to be the wind. You get to choose whatever you want to be, however you want to be it, in your form of dynamicism.
And so there's good and evil in this world.
The war is for inversion. The war is to turn your good dark.
How?
The slave mind. It's can I get you to deny what you see and then invert it? What can you make what's good bad? Can
Well,
you
the
make
slave
what's
mind
bad
to me is
like-
somebody who spends 10 hours a day on Instagram, doesn't
Yeah.
have any friends,
Mhm.
eats processed foods, doesn't exercise.
Zuckerberg is
isn't-
ran by the reptilians for sure, for
Okay,
sure.
Isn't
Yeah.
in touch with their soul.
Yeah.
All their friends they make exist in online planes, and they have no autonomy, and they're just kind of working to live. Now, I feel kind of like we agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is, I'd like to see some Anunnaki proof, because right now all I can kind of hear is anecdotal evidence.
Okay, in the Emerald Tablets, you know.
Wait. We got to go step by step. What are the Emerald Tablets?
The Emerald Tablets is a compendium of basically like the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Where is it at?
Right now it's in a museum, right?
Where is it at?
British Museum.
Okay.
Right?
So as humanity, what can we do to liberate ourselves from the slave mind?
Either you have the technocratic transhumanism Neuralink in your brain, you don't meditate, I don't need to study, I don't need to tap into the Akashic records in God because I could just press a button and get everything I know. Or it's a specific fight against that. It's a push into your soul. It's a push into nature. It's a push into the ether to be the original God. It's downloads. You get downloads from the sun. You get downloads
So would you
from
believe
meditation.
in like rewilding and people settling outside of congested cities?
Absolutely. Why they're trying to get us to be in these smart cities. Absolutely.
Well, the big problem is the developers have bought up all the beautiful places in the world. So it's kind of hard because you get somewhere beautiful and it just becomes a tourist resort or something like that. Or
Indeed.
a ski village. So for you, where do you live, like generally?
I live in the hood, city, LA.
So you live in the hood now?
Yes.
How are you able to tap into these frequencies from the hood?
Because God is good. Again, when I see the homeless man on the street based out off crack type, I can still see God in you. Like if you really listen to somebody when they talking, they could be out of their mind. God got a message to like speak through them. So for me, even when I was like in the worst parts of the hood, there's always a little park around the corner, bro. You can choose to be at the park smoking weed and drinking with the homies if you want to, or you can come work out and meditate. For sure. You got the choice. You're God. You feel me? You can make your life heaven or hell. It depends on what you decide to feed into.
Can you give one quick message to the children of the world?
You are more than enough. You are everything. You have a universe inside of you. And by allowing God to come through you and reaching your full potential in this plane, you will access everybody else's universe. We are connected on a grid, a neural netta. You thinking hard shit over here. There's somebody in China right now, bro. You don't even know. You just put bro on. You just spoke to him in his dreams. Just by you doing what you're supposed to do here. For real, for real.
Hell yeah. You got it. Hey, man. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Great talk.
Thanks for the game, man.
Oh, man. Good looking.
I had a great time. It's kind of like what I always say, is that most people not only think they're doing the right thing, but mostly are in it for the right reasons, and they just gravitate toward a certain type of research because it's what they're into.
I love that he was open-minded. The hardest part is people trying to come in with a preconceived notion and not allowing us to just give our own perspectives. It's not that we're here to change anybody's mind. It's just we might have a different viewer perspective and how we see the world, and that's all right.
Clean, man, clean. Bro is not just learned, but he's calm, he's sophisticated, he's still makes you feel friendly, peaceful, bro.
There's a lot of things where he was willing to admit his positions had holes in them, but when we get down to the myopic specifics, you have to admit there's no evidence that the United States government had anything to do with 9/11. Well, it's hard to debate that. I think Andrew maybe is a bit more of a conspiracy theorist than he would like to let on.
And yeah, I actually had more in common with people than I expected. I wasn't trying to pick apart what they were saying. I mean, I was looking for certain logical loopholes, but I was trying to find common ground because I feel like there's no way that I'm gonna come in here and convince someone that the Earth's not flat. That's just not gonna happen. They've done hundreds of hours of research, but what can happen is maybe we find some middle ground where they go, oh, maybe I should rethink certain elements of that. Or maybe I can be like, damn, maybe NASA has been hiding some things. Probably not the curvature of the Earth, but maybe NASA knows something that I don't.